Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful village surrounded by green hills, there lived an honest farmer named Joseph and his loving wife, Maria. Joseph was known for his kindness and hard work. Every morning he would rise with the sun, tend to his small plot of land, and take care of his 2 cows and 3 chickens. He loved Maria deeply, and though they were poor, they were happy. Maria was a cheerful woman who dreamed of having beautiful dresses and shiny jewelry. Sometimes she wished they had more money, but she never doubted Joseph's love for her. "Love is more important than gold," Joseph would often say, and Maria would smile, even though her heart sometimes yearned for more. Nearby, in a grand mansion at the edge of the village, lived a wealthy merchant named Edward. Edward was rich, but he was not happy. He envied Joseph and Maria because they seemed content with so little. How can they be so happy? Edward often wondered. "I have gold and silver, but I feel empty inside." The conflict. One day, as Edward strolled through the village, he saw Maria drawing water from the well. Her beauty and kind smile caught his attention. She deserves a better life, Edward thought. She should be with someone who can give her all the gold and jewels she wants. That evening, Edward devised a plan. He decided to visit Maria while Joseph was away in the fields. The next morning, he arrived at their small cottage, carrying a basket filled with fruits, sweets, and a shiny gold bracelet. "Good morning, Maria," Edward said with a charming smile. "I brought you these gifts. A beautiful woman like you deserves to be treated like a queen." Maria blushed. "Thank you, Mr. Edward, but I cannot accept these gifts. Joseph and I are happy with what we have." Edward's smile faded for a moment, but he quickly recovered. "Maria, do you truly believe Joseph loves you? If he did, wouldn't he give you beautiful dresses and jewelry? Look at this bracelet. Doesn't it sparkle like the stars? Don't you want more from life?" Maria hesitated. The bracelet was beautiful, and Edward's words stirred something inside her. Still, she shook her head. "Thank you, but I must go now." The temptation. Over the next few days, Edward did not give up. He visited Maria often, always bringing gifts and saying, "Your husband doesn't love you. If he did, he would give you everything you desire." Maria began to doubt. That night, as she and Joseph ate dinner, she said, "Joseph, don't you wish we had more money? I see other women wearing beautiful dresses and jewelry. Sometimes I feel we are missing something." Joseph looked at Maria and held her hand. "Maria, I know we don't have much, but we have love. Love makes miracles." Maria nodded but said nothing. In her heart, she wondered if Edward was right. Edward's persistence. Edward's visits became more frequent, and his words more persuasive. One day, he brought a silk dress and laid it in Maria's hands. "Imagine yourself wearing this, Maria," he said. "You would look like a queen. Does Joseph ever think of giving you something like this?" Maria felt conflicted. She admired the dress, but her heart was heavy. That night, she told Joseph, "Edward says you don't love me because you can't give me what he can. Sometimes I wonder if he is right." Joseph's heart ached, but he remained calm. "Maria," he said gently, "gifts may sparkle, but they don't last. Our love is like the seeds I plant in the soil. It may not seem like much now, but with care, it grows into something strong and beautiful." Maria listened, but doubt lingered in her heart. Edward's words had planted seeds of their own. The miraculous test. The next day, Edward returned with a new plan. He told Maria, If you ever want a better life, come to my mansion. I will treat you like a queen." Maria was torn. She didn't want to betray Joseph, but Edward's words had taken root. That evening, she confessed everything to Joseph. What if Edward is right? What if love is not enough? Joseph's heart broke, but he did not show it. Instead, he smiled and said, "Maria, love is not measured by gold or jewels. Let us prove who truly loves you. Tomorrow, we will visit Edward together." The next morning, Joseph and Maria went to Edward's mansion. Edward welcomed them with a grand feast and gifts piled high. "See, Maria, I can give you everything. Leave Joseph, and you will live like a queen." Joseph looked at Edward and said, "If you truly love Maria, you will not need to deceive her. Let her decide. But first, let us make a deal. If Maria chooses to stay with me, you will give up your wealth and live as a poor man for 1 year." Edward laughed. "That is ridiculous. She will never choose you." Maria was silent. She looked at the gold, the jewels, and the fine food, then at Joseph's kind eyes. She remembered his words, "Love makes miracles." Finally, Maria spoke. "Edward, you may have gold, but Joseph has love. I choose him." The transformation. Edward's laughter turned to rage. "You are a fool," he shouted. "You will regret this." But as he spoke, something strange happened. Edward began to change. His arms grew long, his face became hairy, and his voice turned into a bray. Before their eyes, Edward transformed into a donkey. A wise old woman from the village appeared. She had been watching everything. "Edward, your greed and envy have turned you into a donkey. You will remain this way until you learn the value of love and kindness." Edward brayed sadly and lowered his head. Joseph and Maria thanked the old woman and returned to their humble home. From that day on, Maria never doubted Joseph's love. She realized that true happiness could not be bought with gold or jewels. Edward's redemption. As a donkey, Edward was forced to work in the fields alongside the villagers. He plowed the soil and carried heavy loads, experiencing the struggles of a simple life. At first, he resented his fate, but over time, he began to see the beauty in the villagers' kindness and the joy they found in small things. One day, as Edward helped a young boy carry a heavy basket, the boy said, "Thank you, donkey. You are very kind." Edward felt a warmth in his heart that he had never known before. A year passed, and the wise old woman returned. She placed her hand on Edward's head and said, "Have you learned the value of love and kindness?" Edward nodded, tears streaming down his face. "Yes," he brayed softly. "I understand now." In a flash of light, Edward transformed back into a man. Humbled and wiser, he bowed to the old woman and thanked her. "I will use my wealth to help others and live with kindness in my heart." The resolution. Edward kept his promise. He shared his wealth with the villagers, building a school and a well for clean water. He became a beloved member of the community, known for his generosity and humility. As for Joseph and Maria, they lived happily, proving that love truly makes miracles. They often visited Edward, who had become their friend. Together, they showed the village that true wealth comes from love, kindness, and a humble heart. Moral of the story. True love and kindness are worth more than all the gold in the world. Greed and envy only bring misery, but love makes miracles.